Welcome back again, folks, to part two of this video with my good friend Edward. We're gonna jump right back in with some cigar talk. That being said, how did you get into this whole cigar and Cuban cigars specifically?
Yeah, well, that came. It was it's kind of ironic. That came in 2003, 2004. I was introduced to spiritual system, the Yoruba,
Yeah.
which is West Nigerian
Yeah.
culture, and their religious system. And the person that had introduced me to it, he is Cuban, and he later on became what we consider to be my spiritual godfather. And he himself had a store that used to sell Cuban tobacco. But prior to that, because I was into the culture uses tobacco
Right.
in their rituals and in terms of the appeasement of the deities and stuff like that. And that's how I got into it, because you would find that like the aspirants within the culture would be using tobacco smoke,
Right.
said, in their respective rituals.
Yeah.
So it kind of opened me up from that aspect. But then afterward, as I said, he had his own store. So every now and again I would go by him and we would be talking about the culture, because I was new to it and I was learning it and stuff like that from him.
Right.
Literally at his feet. And he would have these cigars there. These cigars that I used to smoke within the ritual would be like, the regular Guantanameras.
Yeah. El Chipos, the El Chipos.
Yeah. And then one day he introduced me to I think it was a Trinidad Esmeralda.
Start you when you talk.
Yeah, a Trinidad Esmeralda. This is like a 53 ring gauge, like a little over 6. I think it's 6 3/4.
Yeah.
And the minute I smoked that cigar, I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Coming from what it was.
Yeah, they Guantanamo, Jose Piedras and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To, straight to the top. And like the transition was like, automatic. And it was like, no, this is something that I can enjoy.
Yeah.
And then from that, it was he had introduced me to the Romeo and Juliet Churchill. So I got opened up very quickly.
Yeah.
Opened up to more like the high end.
I envy you on that basis, because I didn't start on the high end. I started on the bottom of the bottom. I know, I mean, there's something for everybody, yes? But I started at the bottom with, actually no, that's incorrect. I actually started at the top, because the first cigar that I ever had, me and my wife and I came here. It was under a different management at the time, and we bought a Cohiba, took it to Curacao, smoked this thing. I ended up with a cut on my foot, blowing up the lighter, because stupid me rested the cigar on top of the lighter. It burned through, exploded, boom. Hit my foot on the table, cut, laceration, bleeding out. And that was my intro to cigars. But you understand? But then afterwards, I started then with the factory smoke. So I started at the bottom. And then over the years, you would try different things. And then a good friend of mine named Greg, he bought me a Bolivar cigar, Bolivar Bellicoso. And strong cigar, but he know that my head hard. So, but I blame Greg, because he started me there and I was not able to come down there. So it only keep going up and up and up and up and up. Because as you know, Cuban cigar is a higher price point of a cigar. But it's a very good cigar as well too. But but that's just my thing. That's just a little segue.
I kind of after being introduced to the Trinidad Esmeralda, and then the Romeo and Juliet Churchill, I ended up exploring the other brands.
Yeah.
It was like the Achia Upman. At that time, I used to like there was a Punch Corona that used to come in a can. That was very good as well. But I always, for me, the go-to would be the
Trinidad Esmeralda.
That always go-to, whether it's the Esmeralda or the Torpe,
Right.
which is a bigger ring gauge. I think that's like a 56 ring gauge, little over 4 inches. But obviously different blends.
Yeah.
Sometimes what people don't understand is that because they may see Trinidad Esmeralda, Trinidad Torpe, Trinidad Riaz,
but everything's different blend,
and thinking that like it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same.
That one that last called the VJ, that's really good too as well.
Yeah, for sure. And Media Luna.
Yeah.
But the Trinidad line for me is perfect in terms of what I like in a cigar and the nuances, the different flavor notes.
Yeah.
It's a very smooth, it's a very creamy cigar. It has a sweetness to it, and it has a history to it as well.
True.
And that's one of the things that kind of attracts me to it as well. Because for me, whenever you smoke particularly a Cuban, is like, look at it this way: take yourself away from the actual moment and understand that you are smoking something from a country that has had a lot of difficulties over the years, over 50 years, where the world has turned its back on it. But yet still these people are able to produce one of the best products that you can find in the tobacco industry.
In the world.
You understand?
Yeah.
So for me, that speaks volumes. And that's one of the things when I smoke it with a sense of pride in that.
Correct.
And part and parcel of that production. Because as a cigar smoker,
you're getting it on the receiving end.
You're getting it on the receiving end. So you kind of like appreciate not only the product intrinsically, but the history that goes behind it.
Yeah. And once you get into the cigar culture and you eagerly, trying to get knowledge and you got to go back to the original, just like anything else, whether it's music, whether it's food, you got to go back to the original. So yes, a lot of other places produce cigars, but Cuba has been producing cigars from the time Christopher Columbus pulled up.
Exactly.
And they saw the conquistadors and what's not, saw the guys, the Taino Indians rolling these things. I was like, what is this happening?
Yeah.
And it's just, that's how things go. Then, tobacco smoking and stuff didn't really hit off in Europe and stuff till like the 18th century.
Yeah.
But in places like Cuba, Dominican Republic and that kind of stuff, the Taino Indians it was always there.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for years, even Indians, the Africans, they've been using it over the years.
As I said, like this has been over like let's say 18 to 20 years. And during that period, because of my involvement in the culture, the Yoruba culture, I would have been making constant trips back to Cuba. And to date now I've been there probably I think about 35 times.
Right.
And being there and being immersed now in the culture. And when I say culture, I mean generally speaking, Cuban culture.
Yeah.
Like, it's a staple thing. Two things are very staple in Cuban culture. The rum.
Rum for sure.
And the cigars.
Yeah.
So being there on numerous occasions and being exposed now to like the cigar aspect of it, but from the more intrinsic indigenous experience from the Cuban people. For example, a lot of times, and I think you would have been privy to this, where people kind of like, it's a thing for them when they have like particular bands on,
correct,
or whatever, and they're able to say, "Oh, I'm smoking
a Cohiba,
smoking this or that," and that kind of like, it kind of like aligns with a certain status quo.
True.
But when you go to Cuba, a lot of times you would find that the guys that smoke cigars and have been smoking cigars for a long time, it's
first thing they do,
tobacco.
Yeah. And if it has on the band, the first thing they do is take it off.
Exactly. I'll give you an experience. I remember one time I was with I was at an elder's home, and he, knowing that I like cigars,
Mhm.
he said to me, you know, Edward, I know you just arrived, and I know you like the cigar, so I have a gift for you. I said, okay. And he went upstairs and he came back down and he brought me 5 of these cigars.
Mhm.
Usually Cubans would have the cigars
Rolled in paper.
rolled in newspaper.
Newspaper, yeah.
Because the humidity in Cuba is kind of like perfect
Mhm.
for the upkeep of cigars naturally.
Yeah, yeah.
But they would keep them in newspaper roll. And he came down and he gave me these 5 sticks. And I remember I went back to my apartment that I was renting for the period. I went back there and I light up this thing and I started to smoke. And he let me tell you, when this thing was like phenomenal.
Mm.
No band, I can tell you what the hell it was. All I could tell you, it was tobacco.
Yeah.
So I went back to him and I asked him, like, what's this? And he said, just good tobacco.
Yeah, yeah.
And it truly was
Yeah.
good tobacco. So
Yeah.
for me, that speaks volumes for the cigar itself and the cigar industry coming out of Cuba, in that, like, outside of the names, because a lot of these, from my own research, the whole bad thing
Yeah.
came from a marketing perspective.
That's marketing.
Out of Europe.
Out of Europe, correct.
To differentiate what is what.
What is what, yeah.
But at the end of the day, for me, and
Just
I'm
good
sure
tobacco.
for you as well, as a cigar connoisseur, aficionado, good tobacco is good tobacco. Whether
Point
it
blank.
is Perdomo, whether it is whoever, whatever it is. When you put that puro in your mouth and you light it up and you get those nuances and those flavor notes, you know whether or not
It's good or it's bad.
it's good or it's bad.
Simple. Like, when it comes to Cubans, I would come and ask you a question, or you would offer me a cigar and tell me try that or whatever, and vice versa as well too, because for me now, I like a lot of Dominican,
Mm-hmm.
Honduran, Ecuadorian, and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to that end, I can tell you like this, I like that, I like this particular profile. Like for instance, like EP Carrillo.
Mhm.
Excellent cigar. Did a video of that there the other day. This Sumatra, the new from the Essence series. Amazing cigar.
Which I followed and I purchased one
Yeah,
after that
exactly.
video, because like I was watching the video, I was like, okay, Andrew's over the moon with this cigar,
Yeah,
so let
yeah.
me try it. And
Yeah.
I tried it at night with I had cured it with, I think it was around the Zacapa 23.
Right.
And it was like phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a
and
good
I
cigar.
remember I
Yeah,
messaged
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I said to you, like, yeah,
Yeah.
the cigars. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because the thing, as I keep telling the folks with the videos and stuff, there's so many cigars out there to try. Just try the things.
Mhm.
Different countries, the San Andreas, the Mexico, this, Ecuadorian, Honduran, Indonesian, Cameroon, all of these leaves,
Yeah.
so there's so much things to try.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need, I would never be that guy that say, okay, I only have EP Carrillo
Mhm.
pledge in my box and nothing else. Doesn't make any sense. You got too many good cigars out there. You got too many good cigars out there. So as I tell people, folks, let's try the cigars, try the different brands, try different sizes, different ring gauges. There's some cigars that are obscenely big. This is not needed.
Yeah.
And we know the people that do these. We know, we ain't gonna call any
where
names.
that comes from.
We know where that come from. So it's like,
Yeah.
you don't need some 7x100
No.
thing or all that kind of crap. You don't need that.
Like for me, like one of my favorite cigars outside of the Trinidad Esmeralda, which is I think 53, as I said, ring gauge, is the Partagas Lusitania. The Partagas Lusitania,
Yeah.
which is a double Corona.
Yes,
and
correct.
It's a 49
Yeah.
ring gauge, and to me, that's a perfect size.
Yeah. Anything beyond that is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think when you start to get up in like 58, 63 and whatever, I don't want anything big like that in my home. You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like
No phallic symbols.
but
No.
in terms of the strength notes that you were talking about. The funny thing I find with Cuban cigars, outside of there are a couple that are outside of the exception. My experience in Cuban cigars is that they're kind of linear. When I say that, I mean like tasting notes they're mainly medium.
Yeah,
Light to medium.
I go all the way through.
Yeah, and go all the way through. You would find like the Malacosa, which is the
same on Bolivar.
Bolivar.
Yeah.
Or some of the Cohibas, the Cohiba Maduro. 55. You know, the new Cohiba now, the Cohiba Amber. Those are like more full bodied and stronger cigars.
Yeah.
Which for me, I don't like full body cigars. Remember the experience with me? I sat in here and watched you and your friend Greg. You were smoking a Perdomo
20th anniversary.
20th anniversary.
Yeah.
I said, well, let me try this. And I went home.
Mash up.
And I smoked this thing. And I was like, no. You know what I mean? This is not for me. You know, because over the years in smoking, like, you know, like bodied and medium cigars, and my palate has grown to that. I kind of stick to that.
You hit in as hard as mine.
No, because whenever I try anything else outside of that, it's always a problem.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you gotta know your lane. There are some people who might smoke mainly light to medium cigars, but you got millions of light to medium cigars that you could try. You understand?
Yeah.
So, you know, and I would say for myself, I prefer a nice heavy cigar, 660, anywhere around there. Big ring gauge cigar. I like Maduro. I would say it might sound bad, but I am a little racist when it comes to my cigars. So I like my cigars dark, not light.
You know?
Maduro wrapper preferably, but I still try some other stuff. Like, as you were going back saying with the Cuban cigars, as you said, this is correct. Cuban cigars normally have very linear, so it's like you get one note and that note going all through our cigar, which is good. But I like, I like up and down. I like, you know, like with this, I might be tasting something here, then at the second, then the third, last third or whatever, and get a different profile at different points. So, you know, I like the different notes that I could pick up. I might get coffee up here. I might get some cinnamon down on this side. You know, it's a good mix. But they don't knock it. Again, the Cubans are good. Everybody else are good as well too.
But I think that comes from that linear nuance or those tasting notes from the Cuban tobacco comes because it's a puro. And for those out there who are not familiar with that term, puro means that the binder, the wrapper, the filler, everything about the cigar comes from one country.
Correct.
From one region.
One region.
So I think that's where you get that linear tasting
and consistency.
Whilst now the non-Cubans that would come mainly from like Dominican Republic and Nicaragua, primarily, those guys have mastered the art of blending.
For sure.
Blending, so you may get a binder coming from Nicaragua, you may get
something from Cameroon.
You know, a filler coming from wherever else. So it's like the non-Cubans, and I always have to testify that you were responsible for my experience with the non-Cubans in introducing me to the non-Cubans, and I've found that those blends, you play on them and you get a wider experience, the linear experience that you would get from the Cubans.
Correct.
So for me now, for example, yes, I've been smoking the Cubans for like near 20 years, but for me now, one of my better cigars in terms of tasting notes and stuff, one of the better cigars that I've experienced is the Perdomo.
Thank you very much, folks. Thank me very much.
Yeah, I think Nick Perdomo, I gotta, you know, tip it my hat off to him in terms of. I've never smoked a bad Perdomo in terms of the build. And when I say the build,
all of them are good.
We talk about like, you know, the cigar burn,
the draw.
Because here it is, you have a guy who
put a lot of science behind it too.
he puts the science behind it where he says that every cigar before it goes out to
They draw
the
a test.
retailer, he does a draw test. Now imagine you're pushing out millions of cigars per month.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that you're running each of these cigars through this machine, and if it doesn't meet the quality standard, it's taken off and it's not packed.
Yeah.
You know, so Nick Perdomo with the Sangron series.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a phenomenal cigar. So for me, outside of like my regular Cuban, if I have to have a go-to, that's one of the cigars that I would always choose.
That's good. So in terms of just to finish off, what would you say to people who have an interest in getting into cigars? Like, you know, everybody could start different places, but what would you suggest to somebody as just a final note about these cigars?
I think, in terms of getting in cigars, I think cigars more get into you. And why I say that is because we all know there's something about this product. There's something about this product that you would go. Let's say you go into a cigar lounge in Norway and you don't know anyone there, and you just go and you buy your cigar and you sit down in the corner. But then there's something about this product that builds a ambiance, relationship,
camaraderie, even
camaraderie. Where you start now to like, you know, you look at the guy next door that's sitting next to you, and you're like,
strike up a whole conversation.
And then all of a sudden, there's this whole big conversation that strikes up. So for me,
that doesn't happen at the coffee shop.
Exactly, and for me, it doesn't happen any other where.
Yeah.
From my experience, and I've been to like lounges overseas in different places, and there's something about this product. There's something about this tobacco that, you know, it brings people together.
Yeah.
It's a conversational. It's like a glue.
Yeah.
And it's one of the only products that I know, and you can testify to this. You would go and you would buy a cigar and you would like it, and then you would come back. You would probably go and buy 2 or 3 more, and you would take one of those and you would say, "Well, boy, Andrew, boy, smoked a cigar the other night, and you need to try it."
Yeah.
And I go like, "You need to try this."
And
you don't think about it.
Yeah.
You just
you
need to try this, and that happens all the time. So
true.
The camaraderie, the mystical element of the tobacco to me, and this whole cigar ambiance, it brings people together.
It's very true.
So for me, I would always encourage people that, like, you know, if that's something that you like and you try, for example, obviously you don't go for something too strong.
Yeah,
a lot
not
of
for the
times
first.
people think that
not for the first.
They're gonna try a cigar for the first, and you know, it's always a thing for them where they want the biggest cigar, they want the strongest cigar, and this is not a product. At the end of the day, still to play with it, because obviously it still has nicotine in it.
Correct.
So that strong element, you know, is always there. So, you know, get your introductory, whether it's from like Cuban, you can, you know, the Hoya de Monterrey Epicure number 2. That's a very light cigar that you can,
good start.
You can try and can start. And this may be sacrilegious, but I would even encourage a person who's getting into cigars for the first time, even if you try like a sweet cigar, like a flavored cigar, to just you see how you
Greg and Stephen we even are saying no, hell no.
but we're talking about for the person who is now getting in,
starting small,
starting small and getting them on to, like, you know, before they start. Because I would never introduce a person, okay,
come and smoke a flathead for the first.
Come and smoke a flathead, or come and smoke a Bolivar Belicosa. And then what's going to happen is that
turn off.
Time to smoke it, then you can't take that.
Faint, walk into the glass door.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, start small, you know, get into and smoke in an environment that is friendly.
Yeah.
And around persons who are familiar with
cigars. I will still help you and educate you.
Educate you how to cut it, how to light it, how to draw, stuff like that. And the one thing you're always going to get in that environment is a camaraderie.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that you're going to find a friend and you're going to build friendships
Mhm.
and relationships that will last a very long time. And that's
Sure.
what this product does.
Good. Well, thank you again, Edward, for coming and giving us your knowledge. You got a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the Cuban. And thank you for making some time out through your day to come and, to give your insight and your input in terms of the culture, how you got into it, how to stay into it and how to try different things. So again, thank you and cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to your health.
Cheers to your health as well. Thank you folks again for coming out to Holy Smokes. And we'll see you until next time.